Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Chapter 2 Audiobook Summary. What if the one thing that could save you is also the thing that makes you a target? Imagine living in a world where your greatest gift could be your ultimate curse. In Powerless by Lauren Roberts, the second chapter of the audiobook immerses listeners into a world where power, vulnerability, and survival are at constant odds. The twist. The protagonist has a power that could turn her life upside down, putting her in the crosshairs of those who would stop at nothing to exploit or eliminate her. As Chapter 2 unfolds, the stakes rise, and the complexity of the world Lauren Roberts has built deepens, leaving us questioning what makes a hero, what makes a villain, and where the line between them blurs. As the second chapter begins, we are thrust deeper into the mind of the protagonist, a young woman whose ordinary life is anything but. From the very first few lines, the tone shifts from one of confusion and fear to a heightened sense of urgency. The protagonist, whose name, at first, remains elusive, is grappling with the shocking discovery of her own abilities. She has always known she was different, but now, she faces the terrifying reality that she possesses an extraordinary power, the ability to drain the powers of others. While this might seem like a gift at first glance, it is quickly revealed as a dangerous burden. Her power is a double-edged sword. It's something she cannot control completely, and every time she uses it, she risks losing pieces of herself. As the story unfolds, Chapter 2 reveals her internal struggle. She doesn't want to be a weapon, but she is caught in a world where everyone around her either seeks to exploit her abilities or fears them. The very thing that makes her unique also makes her an outcast. It's a compelling exploration of identity, fear, and the constant battle between fitting in and standing out. The chapter introduces us to a range of secondary characters, who will play pivotal roles in the protagonist's journey. Each person brings a different perspective on power and how it shapes relationships. From the enigmatic figure, who seems to understand her abilities more than anyone else, to the antagonists, who view her as a threat, every interaction she has feels charged with tension. There's an almost palpable sense of danger that clings to the protagonist in every conversation, every decision. This web of complex relationships builds layer upon layer of suspense, making you wonder who you can trust in a world where power is currency, and trust is a luxury few can afford. There's a powerful emotional core to Chapter 2 as well. The protagonist's fear is not just about her power, but about what it might mean for her relationships. Can she ever truly connect with someone without fear of hurting them? As she struggles with this, we see glimpses of her past, moments that shape who she is now. The weight of her family's expectations looms over her, adding an additional layer of complexity to her situation. They don't understand her power, and they certainly don't understand the isolation it brings. But her family isn't the only group that is having trouble understanding her. The society she lives in is fractured, split between those who have powers and those who do not, and each group is becoming increasingly polarized. The protagonist is a symbol of both hope and fear, and as we dive deeper into her world, it becomes clear that her journey will not be an easy one. The action in Chapter 2 intensifies as we get more details about the forces working against the protagonist. There are hints at a larger conspiracy, an underground world where people with powers are hunted down, used, or discarded. This world is ruthless and unforgiving, and it's becoming clear that the protagonist's powers make her a prime target. The suspense continues to build as she starts to learn more about the true extent of her abilities. Every encounter feels like a game of cat and mouse, where the stakes are life or death, but amid all the turmoil, Chapter 2 also delves into the emotional and psychological toll this life of uncertainty is taking on the protagonist. Her inner monologue becomes a battleground for her emotions, grappling with the fear of being hunted, the desire to live a normal life, and the crushing reality that normalcy is out of reach. As the protagonist's world continues to unravel, we feel the weight of her choices pressing down on her, unsure whether the right path is even visible to her anymore. The narrative in Chapter 2 moves quickly, keeping the reader on the edge of their seat. The pacing is sharp, with the action moving seamlessly from one tense moment to the next. Yet, Roberts doesn't sacrifice character development for the sake of plot. Instead, she crafts a deeply human experience, making the protagonist's struggles feel real, grounded, and relatable. The tension between who she wants to be and who she's forced to become is at the heart of this chapter. She is forced to confront parts of herself she doesn't want to acknowledge, and this self-discovery is as thrilling as it is painful. What makes Powerless so gripping is how Roberts plays with the concept of power and its impact on human relationships. In Chapter 2, we see how power shifts the balance between characters. Those who wield it seem to be one step ahead, always in control, while those without it are vulnerable. The protagonist exists in this dangerous grey area, trying to navigate a world where everyone seems to have their own agenda. As Chapter 2 progresses, we can't help but ask ourselves, what would we do if we were in her shoes? Would we embrace our abilities or hide from them? And how long could we survive in a world that doesn't understand us? As the chapter closes, the tension reaches a boiling point. The protagonist finds herself at a crossroads, with no clear path forward. The threat to her safety and the safety of those around her is growing, and she must decide whether to fight back or accept her fate. The choices she makes will determine not only her future, but the future of everyone in her world. Chapter 2 leaves us with a powerful sense of anticipation, eager to see what happens next. Will the protagonist learn to control her power? Will she find allies in this fractured world, or will she remain alone, hunted by those who fear her? Powerless is a thrilling ride of twists and turns, and Chapter 2 is the perfect segue into a larger story of survival, self-discovery, and the true cost of power. It pulls you in, keeps you guessing, and leaves you wanting more. The suspense, emotional depth, and complex world-building will have listeners hooked from start to finish, eagerly awaiting what comes next. If you haven't already, now is the time to dive into Powerless and experience the twists, turns, and heart-pounding moments that make this story unforgettable.